I'm humbled. I'm humbled by the results I got. Matter of fact, I'd been told by quite a few folks that I might as well just rip the trees out. Welcome to A Simple Life. My name's Cal, and we're so glad you're here. We hope you enjoy yourself. I'm gonna talk about grafting today. This year, I pruned back the apple trees really far. And I did it because they weren't working for us. I could not keep up on the pruning and the upkeep of the apple trees and the picking in the fall. So much stuff just went to waste and so much time was spent just trying to keep up. And so I said, you know what? We're gonna do a level set. I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna do a hard prune on one of the two orchards, or most of the two orchards. And we are going to basically reset the orchard so that way in the future, not only can we have more fruit, but it'll be easier to maintain for me because I'm pretty much the one doing all the work. My boys help me, but for the most part, I'm doing all the work up here. And the second thing is I wanted to have space in the future to plant in between these old trees. So if I wanted to come in and rip out the old trees, I can do that because then I'd have young trees that were more of what we need up here, but I would have time where I would still have apples, I'd still have production, I'd still be able to enjoy the fruit of the land. Because, well, this is a bit of a food forest for us. And what I mean by that is, you know, from about May to October, maybe even into November, you can come up here and work all day and not need to bring any food because there is just food up here. There are always snacks around, whether it's, you know, breaking ferns or it's wild plums or apples or berries or jerky off the land or whatever it is. There's just so much up here that you can enjoy year round. And especially once we get the gardens going more, there'll be kale year round. I mean, you literally can come up and make a kale sandwich. Now, what do I mean by a kale sandwich? Well, that's a piece of kale with some other veggies in between and another piece of kale, or maybe you turn it into a taco. It's not a half bad treat, trust me. Okay, so let's talk about grafting. So I grafted probably about 60 of these trees. Did all my grafts take? No. Did most of my grafts take? Yes. And they're doing great. We have had some damage from some deer coming through and nibbling off some of the buds, but it didn't stop the grafts. And so let's take a look at some of these. This is the second tree I did. And so you can see both grafts took here and both grafts took down here. And if I'm not mistaken, yeah. So, okay, so that's actually, this is a bud right here, but this is actually a graft. Okay. So let's take a look at another tree because maybe I was just lucky on that one. Well, I kind of was. So on this tree, we're about 50-50. So we got one here. This one did not take. That wasn't a graft. So we had 1, 2. So we're a little less than 50% on this tree. It's okay, we got grafts. I'll be able to graft on some of these. And that's the other thing is, I don't plan on using these grafts as the permanent branches that we're going to use for our fruit. I actually plan on grafting over some of these as these get a little older. I want to take some of the growth off some of the other grafts that I have and then graft on some of these actual branches that are coming out there. Right now they're just shoots. Some of these shoots I want to graft over in the future using some of the grafts that I have. And the grafted what I had, this is my way of making sure that I keep that variety on the property because I don't know where Herman got all these varieties and I like them and they've done good up here other than just being a little on the woolly side. So that tree, like a little less than 50%. This tree, well, it looks like we got 2 and I don't know, this one doesn't seem to have taken very well. It has one little bud coming out right here. This guy did good, but somebody came along and gave it a nibble. Not really much I can do about that. And I only did a couple on here and this one did really good. These are doing really good right here. So not every single one was a full take, you know, I mean a couple of them did. This one did really good. We got 2 grafts that took really, really well. And then we had 2 grafts that didn't take. One of the lessons I learned while doing this was you can't use too much wax. And what do I mean by that? I believe I lost most of my grafts because I didn't use enough wax. And I'll show you what I mean. So if you see right here, the wax is cracked. If I had used an excess amount of wax, I think I would have been able to get some of these other grafts to take. Even this one right here, you know, I mean, it looks like it was doing good, but who knows? This leaf looks a little on the downside. This was a bud, so that's not taking. This didn't take. And why do I say it didn't take? Well, actually it's green, so maybe it will take in the future. I don't know. This I'm pretty sure did not take. Yeah, this did not take. This is dead. This may take, and maybe something ate the leaf off of it. I'm not sure, but this definitely did not take. It didn't take. And I think there's a couple reasons for that. One thing is I'm new, so there's your first problem. This is the first time I've ever done it. But for being my first time, I'm actually really happy with the results. I learned a lot. And look, here you go. We have this took, and this was a big old, I mean, that's a big old piece of wood. This was second year growth, and it took it. It did good. It's done really good. It's really healthy. And here's another one. This one did really good. Now, only this portion did good. This didn't do anything, but we only needed one bud to go, and that's what we got. And while is this the strongest graft? No, this is not the strongest graft. It's hopefully it'll be stronger over time. But like I said, I just want to keep the variety. So what I did was I grafted over a lot of this so I could keep the variety. And then over the next couple years, I'm going to come in and I'm going to graft over more of the branches. I really want to graft over the branches. I really didn't want to just graft into the bark, but I also wanted to get some stuff started, and I wanted to learn. I wanted to fail. I wanted to try something that I'd never tried before, because, well, you don't learn if you don't fail. And that's just kind of how I live my life. So I learn and I fail, and then I try something different, and hopefully I learn and I move on. So this tree did amazing. Every graft on this tree took. Every single one. I mean, every single one took. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this is not a graft. That's just one of the branches, one of the little buds that took off and is doing just fine. You know, that's not the success rate on everything. You know, I mean, like some of this got nibbled on. Those didn't take. This guy's budding out again. This got nibbled on, it looks like, and the other one didn't take. Not everyone's a success. It's just gonna be part of it. This tree, well, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 6. So 5 out of 6, I'm not too broken up about 5 out of 6. And to be honest, I think if this plastic wasn't wrapped around this one, I think this other branch would actually probably be fine. I think this branch might have gotten nuked in the sun, and that was just by me not knowing that this was wrapped around it. So I bet you if I take this off, it wasn't supposed to be wrapped around there, I bet you this branch will take and be fine, because it had leaves on it at one point, and you can see there's still some green. So let's see if we can't preserve this. We'll just take this plastic off for now. Grafts, look at this. I mean, it's like, it's a legitimate, it's huge. I mean, that's big, and I didn't put that big of a piece of wood in here. So it's grown. It's legitimately grown and been fed by this root system. And that was the idea, was that it would be fed by the root system. This got broken off by something, but this other bud just took off. And oh, you can almost see in there. I don't want to cut it open because I don't want to expose it to we're still in summer. But you can see in there that this is actually expanded and pushed out on that. I'm not gonna go down every single tree and show you everything, but I wanted to show you what happened with the grafting, what the actual success rate looked like, whether it was successful at all, because, you know, there's a lot of trying stuff, and you know, what happened with it? Well, in many cases, I got about, I would say, probably at a 75% success rate. I'm happy with the first time I've ever done grafting, having about a 75% success rate. That for me, well, that's a win. Now it's just learning and seeing what I can do better next time. I also want to show you what I used to do my grafting, because I have a setup and it's not super crazy, but I'll show you what it is right now. I'm not saying that everybody needs this. I happen to be doing a lot of trees, and I'm going to be doing grafting probably for the rest of my life. So I built out a little kit. There are kits out there that you can kind of like buy, like what I mean by kits is like baggies and stuff like that. But I think this is the cheapest and the best. And what I mean by the cheapest and the best is I spent about $100 on the kit itself, like on the bags itself. And I'll show you, I'll put links to everything I bought. None of it is really fancy. It's all really bare bones, but I think it all works really good. What I have is, I have a tool belt for linemen or metal workers, people building steel structures. And so I'll put a link to this. This is a 5125 bag, and then this bag is a 5416 bag. So what I'm doing is, this is for bolts typically. I'm putting my grafts, my coffee, because I always have to have my coffee, and I'm doing that. And then on the other side, I have a pair of Felcos from my dad. I have a grafting knife that I actually, when I fold it up, I stick it in this pocket, and when I'm grafting, I just stick it in this side pocket right here. I have my wax in here with a dull knife. I have extra tape or supplies in here, or the tape I'm currently using. And what I mean by currently using is, or trash. That's the other thing, is extra trash. I put that in there. This is the tape I'm currently using, and then I have extra rolls of tape over here. Now, this just happens to work. What I did do when I got these bags is I waxed them. I waxed them for a reason. One of the reasons for waxing them is we get really wet around here, and I wanted to preserve the canvas as long as possible. The other thing is, I knew I was going to be using wax, and I knew they were going to get waxy already, so I just waxed them because I have grafting wax in this back pocket. I put the grafting wax in here. I'm using a really soft wax. So it's the same wax they use for toilet bowl rings. That's what I'm using. That was a trick that somebody told me. It's a yellow wax. It works really good. It is very soft and pliable. You don't need to heat it up with a torch or anything like that. I have other waxes, grafting waxes I used. This is just way easier. It is so stinking easy, and all the grafts seem to be doing really good so far. And so, because I'm not grafting very quickly, I'm doing about maybe 20 or 30 grafts every night. After the sun sets, it gets a little cool out, I can get out here and I just do as many grafts as I can before it's too dark to graft anymore. So that's what I've been doing. This belt and setup has worked out really well. Once again, I have my clippers right here. You know, they're easy to deal with. This is, oh, I'll show you. This is a Victorinox grafting knife. Super useful. I wanted to show you kind of what this looks like. So when I make my cut in, okay, I'm going all the way to the bark, and you can kind of feel it when you go all the way to the bark. And then I'm twisting the knife and I'm pulling out what you see how the bark starts to pull away, okay? And obviously this is fairly, the bark here is, obviously the bark is fairly thick here. Maybe you can see it starts to pull it away, and that's all. I'm done there. Now I'm just gonna get the scion wood, so I'll pick a piece of scion wood, and let's see what I got here. Oh, that's a nice one right here. And see which way I want it to angle. Okay, let me see. I think that I want this one going that way more, so what we'll do in this one, okay, so we'll do this side first. Okay, I find that angling the knife like this, like a long ways, you get a little bit more of a consistent cut. Okay, just see the whole thing. I don't know why. Maybe it's the way that the knife is made, not sure, but it just feels more consistent. You get a longer, more like straight cut through the material. And I'm not super good at this, but that's my experience. Okay, do the same thing on this side, just a little bit more. It's almost like you're planing it. You're just trying to get a really thin tip on it so everything kind of slides in nice and tight. And then push all the way in till everything is covered. Nice, just like that. And then I'll come off, make sure I have a couple buds going up and I have enough for the next one. So I think right here is good. Come around, we'll do the other side now. Wow, I mean, look at this. This is so stinking exciting. Look at this. Look how well these grafts took. I'm so excited about this. We are in August, and here we are in August, and these are doing this good. If these are doing this good in August, I'm gonna say they took. I don't see why they would start dying off at this point. When they made it through, well, a good portion of the summer. Here's a few things that I learned while doing this. One, you can't use too much wax. While it seems like, oh, well, the wax is a little expensive, there's some alternatives. And I used 2 different waxes, and I don't see a difference between the 2 different waxes. I used a grafting wax, and I used a toilet ring wax. And the toilet ring wax actually performed stunningly. Almost all this was done with that. So that was the first thing, is you can't use too much wax. Now, I'm also doing much bigger trees. So there could be professionals out there that go, oh, we don't even use wax, we use paint, we only use tape. And I've heard of folks that literally all they use is tape, they don't use any wax at all. Okay, fair. I have pretty big trees here that I'm grafting onto. They're pretty good size, and I don't think I can get away with just using tape, because to be honest, the tape really wasn't doing much. The wax was doing most of the work. So number one, you can't use enough tape or wax. Don't be stingy with it. That was the first thing I've learned. Second thing is, whether it's first year or second year growth, it doesn't matter as long as you get good contact. Now, I don't know why some folks prefer just first year. I don't know. I may learn that, and I may learn it the hard way, and there's probably a specific reason. But when I started digging around, there's quite a few folks that graft, and they graft a lot, and they're like, it doesn't really matter. You can use first year growth or second year growth. As long as you get good contact, they will take. So for me, that was exciting because I wasn't sure. I'd been told only first year growth would work. Well, it turns out second year growth works as well, and probably third year growth. But we're probably you're probably getting into some pretty hard wood at that point, and so you may have an issue with that. The other thing I learned was trees are way more forgiving than we give them credit for. It is a lot harder to kill a tree that has a good, healthy environment around it than you think. I thought I would lose maybe 20 or 30 of these trees. I've gone through here and I don't think I've lost a single one, other than trees that were already pretty much dying. Like when I say already dying, like they didn't have much growth in them. But you know what's crazy? I had a few trees that looked like they were dying. They have great growth going now. So I might have shocked them back to life. So if they have a good environment around them and the tree's just not doing good for some reason, and what I mean by a good environment is good soil, moisture, you know, they don't have a lot of pressure from a bunch of, you know, vines strangling them, whatever it is. If you have a good environment around them, there's not a huge reason for them not to make it. So when you do cut them back or prune them back heavily, they're resilient, a lot more resilient than I thought. I literally, when I did this, I kind of had a number of about 25% I thought were going to die. And I've gone through and we haven't lost a single one. If anything, there was a few in here I thought were dead that aren't dead. And I was completely blown away by that. Specifically, these cherry trees, I'll show you. We had these cherry trees over here that never got a single cherry off. 4 years I've been coming up here. We've never got a single cherry tree, a single cherry off of any of these cherries. This one, that one, and that one up there. Not a single cherry. They are vigorously growing now. Now, I'm not sure if this is rootstock that Herman put in here and he never grafted over, or if these are actual proper cherries. So probably what I'm gonna do is I'm probably gonna get some scion wood for some cherries I'd like, and I'll probably graft over these because I don't know what they are, and there's a very high likelihood this is just rootstock. And why do I say it's just rootstock? Well, about the time Herman put these in, he also started to get overwhelmed by the property. And so, like I said, there's a good chance this is just plain old rootstock. So it's not really been developed to grow cherries. So that's the other thing I learned, is that these trees are a lot more resilient than I thought. I know these aren't huge bits of wisdom, but I wanted to share with you my setup, how I did the grafting, what the outcome was, because to be honest, I'm humbled. I'm humbled by the results I got, because I kind of went into this thinking it was going to be a failure. Matter of fact, I'd been told by quite a few folks that I might as well just rip the trees out. And I'm so glad I didn't, because, well, I'm still gonna have apple trees here. And eventually they will come out, but not right now. And I'll probably have another 5 or 10 years before I actually start even considering taking them out. And you go, why would you do it in 5 or 10 years? Well, in 5 or 10 years, I'll have young trees planted in between these, and they'll be a dwarf variety. And I'll actually do the grafting myself of those. So I'll get them all started and everything, and then we'll put them in, and I'll go in between all the trees. And when I do that, I'll let them get established, and once they start giving me fruit, I'll come in and I'll take out these old trees, because this is the rootstock on these is actually a full-blown tree rootstock, meaning it's not a dwarf variety, it's a full-size tree variety. And I really don't need full-size apple trees. And while these may not be dwarf varieties, I'm going to do my best to treat them like dwarf varieties until I actually have dwarf variety in here. So this is the outcome of all the grafting. These are the things I use to do it. And I hope you get out there and do some grafting yourself. Have a good one. Bye.